Hey guys, so today I want to share my first PC build. I got these parts at the Micro Center. So that's the desktop, the motherboard, RAM, Windows 11, SSD, 5070 graphics card, PSU, and then the AIU fan. This was my old PC, which needs a replacement. It's kind of the whole setup of where I built the computer. And yeah, so that's my cat Kareem. His full name's Kareem Abdul Jabbar. And he wanted to help with building the PC as well. Yeah. Anyways, so I'll go ahead and enjoy this video of me getting this all set up. First, I had to take it apart, get it prepped and ready. After that, I kind of had to put it to the side to get the motherboard set up, which I think that's recommended. You want to get the motherboard all connected before you even put it in your desktop. Apparently, this was the motherboard the guy recommended at Micro Center, and it comes with this Wi-Fi attachment, which you definitely need to, get Wi-Fi. Kind of took some time for me to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi working. But yeah, so this is the motherboard. It's actually pretty cool looking. It was on the cheaper side. I was gonna go for a more expensive version, but they were out of stock of the version that I wanted. So the guy said I could just downgrade, since this is mostly just a backup PC for me. And I was mostly using it to learn how to build a PC. So for starters, I think this was a pretty good motherboard to start with. With all the parts, they do give you these quick installation guides, and they're actually pretty helpful. Yeah, and this is me just looking through all the different parts I got set up. I decided to install the RAM first. I was hoping that would be the easiest. I think it is the easiest. These are the RAM discs. They're 16 gigabyte RAM, and I got 2 of them, so that comes out to 32 gigs of RAM. Tell me in the comments if that's good RAM or not, because I might consider getting 2 more of them. So when you're setting up the RAM, you have to put it in a specific spot, apparently. You can't put it in the first slot, and it has to go a certain way. When I was initially trying to get it set up, I set it up the wrong way. But you got to do the second and the fourth if you're only setting up 2. And there should be little divots in the RAM card to help you place it correctly. So for this one, I almost placed it the wrong way, but then I found out yeah, you can't get it wrong because it's not going to fit. But trying to push these guys in was a little bit intimidating, because they're really not that easy to get them pushed in there. But once they're in, and then you just lock them into place. The next thing to install was the SSD card. You want to install your SSD card as close to the CPU for faster speed. There are a few places on the motherboard where you can place an SSD card. It looks like there's 3 places to place it on here. And as close as you can get to the CPU, the better for your main drive. But yeah, so this SSD card is just 1 terabyte. I might consider getting another one, but it's kind of hard to install another one once you get it fully set up. So if you want to have multiple SSD cards, you should probably install them early on, Because you see the one in the middle, that one, I think it's kind of hard to get to once you get the graphics card set up. But when you install the SSD card, it kind of pops up like that. That's correct, and then you got to lock it down in place. So when you first start it, it should come in at a 30-degree angle, and then you pop it down, lock it into place. And then I guess this motherboard comes with this extra piece where you can cover up your primary SSD card. Kind of made it tricky to find where the closest one was, because I didn't notice that it was hidden under this silver flap. Next part I set up was the CPU. And as you saw from earlier, I got an AMD CPU, and it goes in here. Apparently those are like fragile pins, so you don't want to mess those up. You want to be pretty gentle when installing this CPU. You should just drop it in there with the arrow facing up. So here I'm just practicing, getting ready, and I just kind of drop it in with the arrow direction matching and just gently place it in there. And then once it's in there, you got to lock it in. And then it should be securely locked into place. With the CPU to cool it down, I got this AIO fan system, and apparently this is a fan system with a water cooling, and it comes with a bunch of pieces to fit other chips. For the AMD, it's a pretty simple setup. You just pop one of the AMD pieces, specific pieces, onto the water cooler to get it secured. It took me a while to figure that out, because I was trying to go through all the pieces, trying to figure out which one was the right one. And I also was like trying to figure out where did these wires connect, and kind of just prepping for getting the CPU ready. Okay, now that I got most of the pieces set up, I decided to pop the motherboard into the desktop. And for the most part, it should just fit into place. You might have to adjust your desktop to get it in there. Might have to take some pieces out, and then you got to screw it in. So this is after I screwed all the pieces in. And then here I'm getting the power supply unit ready to install. So apparently for this desktop, the power supply unit goes into this back area, and I had to take some pieces out to fit this specific power supply unit in there. When I'm first building the PC, it was definitely intimidating looking through all these wires and trying to understand where the heck did all this stuff, where does it go? And you know, if you're worried about it, just take it step by step. Install the big pieces first and do the wiring last, and everything kind of just pops into place for the most part. So I'm trying to pop the PCU into place, and you'll notice in this video I kind of changed my clothes because I took my time building this. It took me around like 3 days to build my PC. I wanted to make sure I was installing everything correctly, and I was also going online to make sure each step was good before I moved on to the next step. But here I'm prepping the GPU, getting it ready to install on the motherboard. And you gotta open some of the back parts to allow those HDMI connections. But yeah, there's a little part that sticks out of the GPU that's supposed to connect to the motherboard. And it should slip in pretty nicely. When I was installing it, it got me a little bit worried because my GPU was making some weird ass noise. But after I got it installed there, I was like, okay, I think now it's a good time to get this AIO fan in there. And this was probably the hardest part of the build, trying to get this AIO fan on top of the CPU, because the screws for this particular setup, they weren't cooperating that well. And I was concerned that I broke the CPU, but apparently everything's fine. And yeah, it all worked out. So I would consider that was probably one of the hardest parts of getting this whole thing set up. The next part is on top of here is where the light wires are. So there's a lot of wires already pre-connected to the PC. And then all these wires back here are kind of cables that are part of your PC, like the audio, the power button, the HDMI stuff. And a lot of the light switches kind of connect to the top of the motherboard. You'll see later in the video, I kind of mess up the AIO fan lighting, but I adjust it after I turn on the PC. But yeah, it was really intimidating when I started to unwire this thing, because I was like, I have no idea where any of these wires go, and I felt like I was going to be way over my head. I was considering like, oh man, I might have to return this back to Micro Center and just get them to build it for me. But anyways, I was like, I'll just power through this. And later on, you kind of figure out like things kind of just fit into place. There's very specific ports for each plug that connect to the motherboard. I think the hardest part was the power and the LED lighting that goes in right there, trying to figure out how that was supposed to be plugged in correctly. One thing that really helped me with getting these wires correctly was I have the smart glasses from Meta, and with the Meta glasses it comes with the AI thing. So I would just ask the AI to like, hey, look at these wires and tell me where they should go. So that definitely saved me. This is the big wiring for to power the motherboard. And later on you'll see I'll connect these wires through the back to the power supply unit. Just kind of getting them prepped and ready for the setup. And here I'm putting in I think it's the USB 3 cable into the front. So these are all those big wires that I showed when getting the power supply unit. This first plug is for the lights, I believe. And I didn't really know where to plug it in. I think that's kind of hard. The hard part is a lot of those cables look the same, but I want to get that prepped. I took it off anyways. And then these are the cables for the motherboard. There's a very specific plugs that go in for these ones for the motherboard powers. So those were easy to find, so I definitely decided to start with those first. And as you saw earlier, I slipped those into the front of the motherboard. And there's a lot of cables, so cable management is definitely a thing that you want to pay attention to, because you don't want to get them going everywhere on your PC. Anyways, that light switch, decided to plug it right back into that spot I put it in the first time. And honestly, I forget what these cables were for, but they look like they fit on the top of the motherboard. And I also checked with the glasses. Can't really remember what they were. Anyways, they fit on the motherboard, so I just put them in. I'm pretty sure when I was doing it, I could remember what they were for. I think I also mentioned it at some point in this video, what I plugged into where as well. And then this was the GPU plug. It's like 420 volts or something like that. And so when the GPU comes with its own plug, but it's not long enough to reach to this power supply. So luckily this power supply unit that I got gave me this cable that I could just put into the GPU. Yeah, so that's how the cables look like. It was pretty crazy. And then this is me just getting those power, the GPU plugged in. With the wiring, I got the CPU power plugged in, the motherboard power, this CPU fan plugged in here, and then also it's plugged into the lights up here. I also grabbed these lights. Were two switches I plugged into here and here. I don't really know if that's needed. And then the USB-C is plugged into here. The power and LED lights power plugs into here. USB 3 I believe is in here. And the what the heck is this? This is the HD audio. Anyways, once I got it plugged in, I checked the power. Everything seemed to be fine, but you can see the fans at the top were not working because I didn't plug them in correctly. I actually had to do a couple adjustments on wiring the PCU. And when you're doing this, you want to plug in your monitor because it will warn you if your CPU is going to heat up. So if your CPU starts heating up, turn it off and then try and adjust these wires to get the water coolant working. And you'll see that I'm working here to figure out why those fans aren't working. And then also the light to that water coolant wasn't plugged in. Eventually I get it plugged in here. So there we go, it plugs in. I hear the water working, and then the fans at the top were working as well. Anyways, this is the final result of the build. Super excited that I got it working. There's a bunch of pieces I couldn't even remember where they were supposed to go, so I was like, I guess I don't need those pieces anymore. And yeah, this turned out really sleek for my first PC build. I was super excited about it. Kind of sad I had to get rid of the old desktop, but hey, this thing's a beast. At least for the things I do. This mostly just going to be a backup PC. And yeah, so it looks really beautiful. Haven't had any issues with anything overheating. I know some people were mentioning like, oh, you could optimize the fans, but I think overall the setup was really nice. So yeah, this is the overall look of the machine. I kind of want to put some nice stickers on there. Maybe replace the AIU fans eventually. The GPU one day. But overall, this thing came out really nicely. And kind of proud of it.